I know, I'm like, he probably doesn't know her. So. There we go. Okay.
We'll have to catch up.
Yeah, let's do.
Okay. Hello? Okay, there we go. We're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order a little bit early. There's a lot that we have on the agenda today to get through, so we're going to go ahead and call it to order. Welcome everyone to Washington County Republican Women. We're so happy to see so many familiar faces today. Glad to have you with us. We actually have we have our Commissioner Victor Iverson up here in the front. Do we have any other elected? Oh, Janine Burton from Santa Clara City Council. She's back there. Do we have any other elected officials? Oh, Justin. Oh, yes.
Not elected, appointed.
Our appointed city councilman in Santa Clara, Justin Kaplan. We're so glad to have him joining us today. He's been a good supporter of the club. So welcome to all of our, and Sheriff Brooksby. He's also elected. That's who everyone's here to hear from. So welcome to our elected officials who are joining us. We are going to have a prayer from Sharon Simmons, and we'll go to that one.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful to Thee to be together today and for the nourishment Thou provides through Carrie and her staff. We're thankful to Thee to welcome back guest speaker Sheriff Nate Brooksby, whom we always enjoy hearing from, and we're grateful he's with us today. We're grateful to Thee for this administration and Congress for investigating and exposing the many who act in opposition to our country's values, beliefs, and laws. Father, we ask Thy blessing for Sheriff Brooksby and his deputies and their local federal colleagues. May they all be kept safe in their work. We ask Thy blessing for those working hard to bring every criminal to justice. May we see the full weight of our laws bring accountability and penalties for their actions against our country. We ask Thy blessing for the family of 11-year member Nina Heck, who passed away on February 4th. May our prayers comfort them as they grieve their loss. Lastly, Father, we ask Thy blessing for our third Vice President, Janine Burton, on the tragic loss of her son, Trevor, who died on February 3rd, fighting for Ukraine. As we offer her our condolences and prayers, may she feel our love and support as she grieves her son. Father, we humbly ask these blessings in the name of Thy beloved Son, Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
Okay, thank you, Sharon. That was a beautiful prayer. All right, we wanted to give just a couple of minutes really quick to, where's Bill? Bill, do you want to come on up? He's going to just give us a quick recap on where we are at with signatures. Bill is actually one of the people who helped file the initiative to repeal Prop 4, and he's going to give us an update real fast.
Super fast, Prop 4. There's a lot going on, a lot of moving parts that have happened with Prop 4, and fortunately, our GOP administration was pretty smart in holding off all of our signatures until the last minute. To submit those, we had over 200,000 that got filed in, which is great. We have to get over 8% in 26 of the 29 districts. We think we're going to be there. There's a lawsuit that's also been filed that's sitting before 3 district judges right now. Victor Iverson's on that, but so is Burgess Owens and Celeste Malloy, who are in arguments today. I think they finished arguments yesterday. The whole situation here, my friends, is that we've got the purpose of trying to identify what Prop 4 really did, and it was a botched effort to subvert our state constitution. It can't pitch Article 1 against Article 9, which it tried to do. and it should have been kicked out immediately. We're hopeful that that can get repealed now. We followed the process, the legal process, to get it back on the ballot and let people speak. If you can talk to any of your family in social media or whatever, let them know this should be on the ballot. This shouldn't be silenced. We should not be allowing people to remove their names because they're afraid from the media that they're getting. They're actually getting postcards now to remove their name from our opposition. And so I'm hopeful you'll communicate that effectively. And is there any questions before I quit? Okay, thanks.
Okay, we also want to give just a couple minutes really quickly. Commissioner Iverson, as Bill mentioned, he is on the federal lawsuit, and I asked him if he would give us an update on that today, where they heard the arguments yesterday.
Thank you so much. I just really have to take my hat off to Bill Hoster and to Alexis and just the troopers that they were to get those signatures. I want to speak very quickly to the federal lawsuit that has been filed, as mentioned, with Congresswoman Malloy, as well as Congressmember Burgess Owens, and several county leaders, including myself and Commissioner Snow, as well as our own Mayor Jimmy Hughes, are signers onto that lawsuit as well, with some other county officials across the state. We have excellent legal representation in this case with Gene Schaefer, who is well known. He's clerked with two justices. His law firm is very well known in the state. And so we argued, the arguments were heard yesterday for two actions. One is that the lawsuit is actually against Deidre Henderson. She's the plaintiff in the case, but she told the court that she had no objections or opinions on the matter. And so it's really between our lawyers and the League of Women Voters, as well as some others that tried to intervene as well. It was in front of a three-judge panel, Judge Shelby, and then we had a member of the 10th Circuit Court. Timovich is an appointee of George W. Bush, and then we have Holly Teeter out of Kansas, who is an appointee of Donald Trump. So they heard the case yesterday. The report was that, as you've read in the paper, that it was a 3-hour hearing on a preliminary injunction that we were asking for, and then a dismissal that the others were asking for, the other parties. It was vigorously questioned. I'm always an optimist. I believe that the Constitution, the rule of law, is on our side. Deidre did ask that the court rule as quickly as possible. It's not known, they're under no obligation, but we feel that we'll get a ruling probably very quickly, maybe as early as the first of next week. If we do not prevail in that, we are planning to immediately appeal to the Supreme Court of the United States. We do have a direct line and be able to do that. And so, once again, just to wrap this up, it is not overstating the fact that this issue is a constitutional crisis. And we do have both the U.S. Constitution and the Constitution of the state of Utah say that districting has to be ratified through our state legislature. And so that's really the question. It's not political theater at all. But what I love about it is we're fighting this on all fronts. The initiative is very much a part of the permanent solution. We're looking for an injunction to get us back to the 2021 maps. And Congress and basically our nation hangs in the balance on it. So thank you.
Okay, thank you for letting me take some time for that. I love the support that we've had from members of our club on this redistricting issue, on gathering signatures. Please, if you talk to your family and your friends, tell them to keep their signature and keep their voice. There is no reason that Utahns can't put this on the ballot. That's the very same process that Prop 4 and Better Boundaries used in 2018 to get it on the ballot. So please tell people, keep your signature, keep your voice on this. All right, we are going to have our Americanism and pledge next. So, Randa Todd.
As I was thinking about patriotism for this month, I had Lincoln on my mind because I was helping plan the Lincoln Day dinner. But George Washington is also a great example of patriotism. So I will talk about him another time. And today I will focus on Lincoln. And I'm wearing my Miss Americanism banner to highlight Americanism because we should always have it on our minds and in our actions. Okay, so about Lincoln. Lincoln didn't see America as a place on a map. He saw it as an idea. In his words, this nation was conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. To Lincoln, America mattered because it stood for something higher: freedom, responsibility, and God-given dignity. What's powerful is that Lincoln loved America deeply, even when America was broken. He lived during the nation's darkest chapter, the Civil War. He faced division, hatred, and unimaginable loss, and yet he never gave up on the belief that the Union was worth saving. This is an important lesson for us today. Lincoln taught us that patriotism is not blind loyalty, and it's not silence. True patriotism is the courage to stand for our founding principles, even when it's hard, even when it costs us something. He believed that peace without principle was not peace at all. The founder spoke of creating a more perfect union, not a perfect one. Lincoln understood that America would always be a work in progress, shaped by the character, faith, and commitment of its people. Each generation has a responsibility to protect what was handed to them and to pass it on stronger. As conservative women and men, many of us understand that deeply. We value faith, family, freedom, and responsibility. We know liberty doesn't sustain itself. It requires moral courage, engaged citizens, and a willingness to stand firm when the culture shifts. Lincoln reminded us of what's at stake when he said that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. America will endure, not because it is flawless, but because ordinary people choose to love it, defend it, and believe in its founding promise. In the 250th year of America, we are stewards of this great experiment. We have inherited freedom we didn't earn. We inherit responsibility to preserve this freedom we can't ignore. That choice is patriotism, that commitment is Americanism, and that responsibility now belongs to us. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you for removing your hats. Please begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Okay, we are going to have a membership report from Kristen Crow really quickly, and then we will do a really fast budget approval, and then we will let Jody announce our speaker.
Happy Thursday. And this is a month of birthdays, as is every month here. So would everyone who had a birthday or has a birthday coming up this month, please stand. Come on. I think there's some shy people out there, or they didn't come to the meeting. They're gonna miss out on this. So anyway, happy birthday to the people who have birthdays this month. And now on to membership. We have several people to recognize this month. And the first person I'd like to recognize is Christine Perkins, who is a new member. It's not her. She actually joined a little bit ago, but this is the first meeting she's been at. Would you like to come up? Sure. And as a new member, our new members are receiving a special pin. They get their name badge, but they also are, as a new member, receiving a special America 250.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you. And Next, we have Mary Kay Welsh.
Thank you, Mary Kay, for your membership.
And our next category goes into our GEM members, who are people who give a little extra money to our club so that we can offset our fundraising expenses and whatnot, so we don't have to be fundraisers. And this person, I just heard a little while ago that he is on Santa Clara City Council now. Jessica. And Akimi Cardin. And our immediate past president, Haley Kaplan, is a gold member. He's not able to join us today because he's participating in Leadership Dixie, but his wife will take his award, and that is for Jerry Jagger. So, Stephanie. And our first vice president of our club, Jody Valentine, is a gold member. And with Star Richens, also a gold member. And gym members, on the back of your certificate, you'll find your little decal that you can put on your name badge that represents your gym membership. And now Troy Belliston is a platinum member. Oh, I guess he's not here. Okay. And next, already at the microphone today, Victor Iverson is also a platinum member. And our platinum members also are receiving one of our America 250 pins. And our club president, Alexis Hens, also platinum. I held this one out to the end, and the reason why is because I believe that this person deserves some additional attention and recognition. This person has been a member, consecutive member, meaning every year she's been a member for 26 years of this club, and that is Dolores Osborne. And I'd also oh, there she is. Dolores, thank you so much for all your participation over the years. There was so many visitors today. I'd like to point out to you that as you roll through this meeting, you're going to see a magic opportunity for you to learn more about the Republican Party and the many, many ways that you can get involved. And also, this is a rich education opportunity to belong to the Washington County Republican Women. So please join us. Thank you.
Jennifer is sick, so I am as the assistant, whatever. I make a motion to approve the budget as presented. There's a couple of copies on your table.
Second. Okay, there should be copies on every table, and we are gonna, do we have any questions about the budget? Okay, all in favor of approving the budget?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're gonna let Jody go ahead and introduce our speaker.
We are so excited to have Sheriff Brooksby. He's been such a good supporter of Republican women, and we're grateful for the men who came with him, and I'm going to let you tell us a little bit more about them. There's so much that I could say about Sheriff Brooksby, but I'm going to try to condense it a little bit. He's a lifetime resident of Washington County, has a wonderful wife named Catherine, and 2 wonderful daughters. They enjoy boating, mountain biking, snowboarding, and he's been a member of the Republican Party since age 18. And I remember back when my kids were in high school and they took U.S. government, they got applications to become voters back then. And I don't know if they still do that, but I love that. One of the things I love most about him is he said, I value the party's beliefs and feel like now more than ever, our united voices need to be heard. And it's so true. That's why we meet together, so that we can understand each other and come to some conclusions together and work together to improve our county and to improve our country. He has served in local law enforcement for 30 years, and the last 27 years have been in the Washington County Sheriff's Office. As a sheriff, he supervises over 300 employees and volunteers. He has significant experience with common constitutional issues, specifically our First Amendment, freedom of speech and religious freedoms, our Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, our Fourth Amendment, dealing with search and seizure, and our Fifth Amendment, right to due process and self-incrimination. He's a strong supporter of limiting government and valuing the rights and freedoms of U.S. citizens. He has volunteered in too many organizations for me to list, and this is the list I have of everything he's done in law enforcement. You can see how small the writing is, so I'm only going to highlight a small amount of it. He was the Chief Deputy over Patrol Divisions for 4 years, supervising the Metro SWAT, Search and Rescue, Bomb Squad, Drug Task Force, Investigations, Emergency Operations, Uniform Patrol, Court and Transport Unit, Mental Health, and Drug Court. That's a lot of things to be responsible for. He's been a SWAT commander 4 years, a team member for 18 years, a bomb squad commander, an FBI task force officer, a critical incident task force commander, an FBI joint terrorist task force member, has top secret clearance, and I could go on and on and on. But some of the things that he's done specifically above and beyond is that he orchestrated the creation of the Washington County Bomb Squad in 2014. He orchestrated the creation of the Washington County Metro SWAT in 2011. He created an unmanned aerial drone program for the search and rescue in 2016. He helped to do major jail expansion to serve the needs of our community in 2025. And we are the first county in the state to have all guardians in place to keep our schools safe. And as a retired school counselor, I appreciate this because I want you to know that school resource officers in our schools are critical. If our kids get in trouble and they have a really positive experience with our school resource officer, it can change them around. It can change their whole attitude, and they can become different people. And so it may seem like a small thing, but I know it's a huge thing. So we just want to thank him for everything and welcome him to come up and tell us all about it. And we probably will have time for a couple questions. There's some cards on the table. So members of Washington County Republican Women, write your questions down, and Alexis and I will gather them. We may not get to all of them, but we'll do what we can.
Thanks, Jody. Thanks for having me back. So last time I was here was in March of last year. And of course, the new administration just come in and their objectives changed from the previous administration. So at the time we were talking about what we foresaw coming. We talked about budgets and resources. And, Tom Holman was quite vocal about what his intentions were. And then so that was March. So ICE had got the green light, and back then they were doing about 40 arrests a week in Washington County, targeting known criminals that were in the country illegally. And that's been the focus, is we're going after the worst of the worst. I think that they turned it into a sprint instead of a marathon. So what happened is they were arresting so many that they lost. They didn't have enough space in jails. So they've got a facility down in a couple in Nevada. So then they filled up. They didn't really have anywhere to take them. So their street operations kind of went slow for a few months. About August of last year, they ended up fixing that problem. So I haven't heard any issues about jail space anymore. So whether it's in the region or state by state, they've found a way to fix that. I think a lot of it is they are deporting individuals very quickly. And I know some are, commercial airlines or military aircraft to ship them out. I talked to Jordan, who's one of our supervisors of ICE down here, and he couldn't come speak to this, but he gave me some stats to share with you. So, and just, I guess, keep in mind, I would say the statistics probably won't be accurate from the beginning of the year. I would say from August on. So an example, in 2024, so the previous administration was still in place, ICE agents only made 85 arrests in the year of 2024. So just in the tail end of 2025, they were up, and this is just ICE. One of my detectives will go into some of the work we've been doing. So they went from 85 arrests in 2024 to 544 arrests, which is about a 540% increase just in that period. I talked, one of the issues with the open border was the fentanyl coming in. Talked about how that impacted us locally with the overdoses we were seeing and are still seeing on a weekly basis. Every officer and deputy in the county carries 2 doses of Narcan, and we're using it weekly. I've had inmates overdose in jail. Just 2 weekends ago, I had 2 females one on a Saturday and one on a Sunday. So a judge sentenced you to do a 10-day commitment. So you show up at the jail, turn yourself in, and you're going to spend 10 days in jail, and then you get out and your sentence is done. Well, they knew they were coming to jail, so they decided to get high off fentanyl before they came to the jail. They end up overdosing in my lobby. That gets my medical staff with crash carts and hitting with Narcan, and they get transported to the hospital. So that's even affecting, the lobby at my facility. Sometimes it happens in the jail. We've had inmates in jail that had overdosed. So I'll go over some historical numbers there. So in 2023, just in Washington County, we recovered 167,000 fentanyl pills. We saw an increase in 2024 up to 233,000 fentanyl pills. I did talk about, with the border being secured, that I was anticipating a rapid reduction in the fentanyl seizures. But then the caveat is there's still surplus in the United States, so they're having a hard time getting it in here, but I knew that there'd be some already in the States. So in 2025, we had a reduction of 80,000 less pills that we seized in Washington County. I'm only going to anticipate that coming down every single year for the next 3 years. What's interesting, you get rid of one drug and then an old one starts popping up. So we've all of a sudden saw an influx of powdered cocaine. So that they're still trying to get their fix one way or another. Those 2 drugs are polar opposites. One's a depressant, one's a stimulant. So I don't know. So what I have done, I've been very vocal about working with ICE as much as I can, statewide. Some police chiefs are not willing to do that. Some sheriffs are not willing to do that. But right now I have 13 either patrol deputies or detectives that are credentialed to enforce ICE immigration laws. So they're called task force officers. I do get some local feedback on that. Well, why are we using our local deputies? They need to be out in the county patrolling and things like that. So it's not like I have 13 that are assigned full-time to ICE operations or Homeland Security operations. What we're doing is we have like 2 of them every week assigned to work with ICE. And so it's been working out. Detective Weaver is going to go over some stats. I think short of the 544 arrests that ICE made. I think we're pushing about 350 just since September. That was kind of new. So it took a while for contracts to get signed. It took a while for agreements and payments. So they are the task force officers. ICE is paying Washington County for helping ICE out. I've also given them bed space in the jail. I've also given them an office in the jail. So we talk about 287G. So 287G is the program that allows federal agencies, particularly ICE, to give local law enforcement the same arrest authority as ICE would have. They have a jail module to where I could have some of my corrections staff be able to do the screening and identify if the individual's in the country legally or illegally, and be able to put the whole paperwork on it. But like the state of Florida, Governor DeSantis, there was a bill that every sheriff in the state of Florida would work with ICE. So now the school that I need to send them to get that jail certification for my corrections staff, I'm like 3 years out to even get them in. I'm hoping they'll come with an online thing, but since I'm supplying ICE with an office in the jail, they're able to do that work all the time. They've had a huge influx of new ICE officers come in. They've had some National Guard people assigned to them, I think up to 10. National Guard is basically putting packets together. So when I talk about the worst of the worst, we're looking for people that are drug dealers, sex offenders, murderers, aggravated assaults, fraudulent. Fraud docs is a big one. So if you are in the country illegally, you don't have the right to work. So when you get a job, you're presenting identification, and that identification is fake. You're using a real U.S. citizen social security number to obtain that. So that becomes a fraud doc case. That's a felony at the state level. So that's something Detective Weaver is working on. That's pretty much the gist of it. I know it's a big topic. That was a headline, but that's what I've been doing to help ICE out. I do believe that I'm the sheriff in the state that's working the closest with ICE and has been very proactive in engaging with them. I see what's going on back east in some of the big cities. I haven't seen any of those issues here with, riots and protests and stuff. We've had some protesters, but they've been very peaceful and not causing any issues. Obviously, they have the right to their freedom of speech, and we're going to protect that, even though maybe some of us will be on the other side of that. So, any questions related to that? Go ahead.
Arrest is the first step. How are we doing on the prosecution side?
So that depends. I talked to Gary actually quite a bit, Henderson, yesterday on the phone. This came up. So it depends on what the charge is. So one thing that I have seen, 10 or 12 a week. So if you're in the country illegally and you get booked in on a DUI or domestic violence or an assault or a trespass, basically, if you're coming to my jail, you're going to be screened, and within 24 hours, typically you're going to have an immigration hold on you. And that's been happening where 4 years prior to that, it wasn't happening at all. So you'll see on the booking page, I get to see photos still, you guys don't. Legislators changed that law to where we couldn't put a picture of the individual on the booking screen. They felt it was punitive. But you can still see the name, the city they're from, the charges that they're in. So you'll see an individual booked in on a DUI, and then like within 24 hours, you'll see an immigration hold. So last week I was kind of going through those, and I saw 8 in a row: immigration hold, immigration hold, immigration hold, immigration hold. So that's part of the low-hanging fruit. If you're going to be in the country illegally and you're going to commit crimes and end up in my jail, you're going to be turned over to ICE. So that's a big change. Before, under the previous administration, ICE would come in, verify that they're in the country illegally, and give them what we call a promise to appear in court 8 years from now. And because they were claiming asylum seekers, which we know 98% of the individuals claiming asylum aren't going to qualify, but because of the way it was handled under the previous administration, they get handed the promise to appear, court date in 8 years. Technically, you're in the country legally according to the last administration. So they have 8 years to show up to a court date. So that's not happening anymore. They're getting holds put on them almost immediately.
Can you talk too about the different administrations? I mean, the former administration, they were really hard to work with.
Correct. So we've been working with ICE in some contract agreement for my entire career. What changed under the Biden administration is that they didn't want to cooperate with us. So They had two non-government entities that wanted to come in and do inspection, so they have rules. You know, we have state inmates. The state has rules that we need to abide by. But some of the rules that they came up with were so ridiculous, it was impossible to work with them. So I'm talking about special lotion lines and not being able to lock their inmates down if they were assaulting another inmate without calling and getting their permission first. I can't manage a jail if I can't lock somebody down to get the scene calmed down. And then within the jail, we have punitive measures. We have lockdowns, or you're on restriction where you can't have coffee that day, or you can't watch TV. And we even have an appeals process within the jail for those types of sanctions. So I have to have that ability to keep safety and security in mind in the jail. So about a year in as sheriff, I tried to work with ICE, and it became so ridiculous that if we didn't abide by their rules, then we'd be sued by the ACLU. And it was impossible to complete it, and it put liability on it. So I canceled the contract. So that was a big deal. And then we had an ICE director, Bernanke, up in Salt Lake, who leaked a memo to our state legislators blaming the sheriffs for the immigration problem. Well, we weren't happy about that. So within 2 weeks, we're in a meeting with him and his boss from DC. He sat down there. He sat with his head down the whole time. And she clamored to continue a cooperative effort in immigration work. And we ended up going to DC shortly after that. And we got Mike Lee pretty fired up. And he said, I'm calling Kristi Noem right now. And within 3 days, Bernanke was out of here. So. Yeah, let's see. Okay, this is about fentanyl pill with the hundreds of thousands of pills that we're dealing with, or people being arrested for possession. The answer is yes. About 5 years ago, they did a JRI. It was unfortunate because it really hindered us for several years. So California had already done it. We could have looked at the data in California and said, this doesn't work. It basically, but Utah did it anyways. So they took your hard drugs, fentanyl, cocaine, methamphetamine, heroin, things like that, hard drugs, right? And they decriminalized it. So before then, if you were in possession, it was a felony. It was an automatic trip to jail. First, second time offense, you're probably not looking at prison time. We're going to get into some kind of rehab program and try and get on the straight and narrow. Well, they took that from a felony for possession and they dropped it to a Class A misdemeanor. So literally, if you had cocaine on you, Brandon, which you don't, right? That you would go to jail on the felony, but with JRI, it turned to a misdemeanor where an officer could, at their discretion, write you a ticket and send you on your way. Now, we don't do that because it's our drug. Even though it's a misdemeanor, we're still going to take most individuals to jail on a simple possession. We have things like our recovery court program that with JRI, our participants kind of dwindled because there wasn't an incentive, i.e. jail time, or if you're a female, your kid's probably being taken away from you. Things like that that really get people to think about, hey, I probably need to change my life. I need to get it on the straight and narrow. I'm going to go into this recovery court program and hopefully have a successful life. But because they were misdemeanors, not felonies, it took about 3 or 4 years to where they were on their third and fourth possession charge, where they might look at prison time to motivate them to go into recovery court. So now we have people waiting at the door to get into recovery court. So that's kind of been interesting to see. So that's yeah. So fentanyl. Because of the fentanyl problem last year, the legislators did take fentanyl specifically and create that as a felony possession because of all the overdose. So your cocaine and heroin and meth are still Class A misdemeanor. Because of all of the issues we've had with fentanyl nationally with overdoses, the legislator last year did pull that out and make it a more severe offense. But it took them a while to catch up. We went for 3.5, 4 years of hundreds of thousands of deaths nationally before the legislators did something that could affect it. The governor put together a fentanyl task force that just spun up recently. But now I know we're going to see a very fast reduction in fentanyl coming into our state because of what's going on at the border. So
Okay, I'm gonna give him this one, and then there's still a couple more, but we're gonna do those at the end because we want to make sure that people that need to leave kind of in a timely fashion get to hear the reports from our other officers that are here today, but we can do some more then.
So why don't you think we don't see the large-scale ICE enforcement operations here in Washington County like we're seeing in other places? I would say mostly just population-driven. Like we have 220,000 residents in all of 2,500 square miles of Washington County. So the numbers aren't there. I know there has been some focus, particularly from the Trump administration, on larger cities with sanctuary policies, that the locals aren't helping them out. That's not the case here in Washington County. That we're working, me in particular, working with ICE. Some of the city agencies in Washington County aren't as vocal about helping out ICE. They're going after criminals, but their position is not working hand in hand with ICE. And that has to do with the structure of government between the city and county. So because I'm an elected official, the commissioners control my budget, but they don't control how I operate my office. In the city governments, the police chiefs are appointed and are at will by the mayor and city council. So they oftentimes take more moderate stances, and where me being elected, I can actually speak my opinion. And I respect that. I work very well with the chiefs. It's just a different way of governing. So, but that, I would say, population driven. So we are, Weaver's going to go over some stats. So we're talking since about July, August of last year, ICE has arrested 544. We're about 350. That's pretty significant, but we're not seeing, violent demonstrators and things like that in Washington County. But the work's being done. You just don't see it as frequently. We did have a foot chase yesterday on illegal with no driver's license stuff caused a crash in Washington City. Some of my guys were on, called them over. The individual saw HSI and ICE agents, I believe, and took off running. We short foot pursuit and got him into jail. So again, I think it's just the environment. We're not a sanctuary state. We're not a sanctuary city. We don't have the population, and our local governments are working with the federal, all three-letter acronym federal agencies. So.
We're gonna save these few more till the end. We want to see these other two presentations, and then
Okay.
we'll do some more questions.
So Deputy Weaver, Detective Weaver, it's a big difference and important, deputy versus detective. He gets paid a little bit more to be a detective. So Detective Weaver, he is full-time Homeland Security. They are helping ICE. So he's my employee, he's my deputy, but I have assigned him full-time to Homeland Security. So he's the one going after the illegals that are committing serious offenses in our community. He's working fraud doc cases all the time. So he's going to go over some of the worst, gang involvement, and he'll go into some of that, different tattoos and what they mean and what countries of origin and their organization of their cartel, things like that. So we'll turn the time over to Detective Weaver.
Do these hook up to the
I'll just stand here and look pretty.
monitors? Okay, hook this laptop up.
Haley's the IT pro.
Oh, no, sorry. Back here.
I'm not going to stand here and look pretty because I want to see the screen.
So I'm Detective Weaver. Been in the sheriff's office for like 9.5 years. Like Sheriff Brooksby said, I'm assigned to Homeland Security Office, as well as I'm one of the 287G task force officers. We'll get this slideshow up. I'll show you guys a little of our stats and what we've been doing so far since August, since the program's taken off.
There you go.
You guys see on this side at all?
Yeah, it's not gonna
Okay.
work if you want to get started.
Okay. So, since about August, it's a joint effort with the jail, 287G, and the IS agents. We've done 357 plus. And I say 357 plus just because we've had a couple recent ones, so it happens daily. Arrest. Not all arrests were immigration alone. Most of them stem from crimes committed, like Sheriff said, the fraudulent documents. So crimes include drug trafficking, fraud, sex offenses, aggravated burglary, assaults, and DUIs. Some arrests have gang and cartel ties to the areas south of the border, such as the Tren de Agua from Venezuela, Latin Kings, Mexican Mafia, and Sinaloa Cartel. As far as the drug trafficking from people that we arrested that are legally in the country that are trafficking drugs, this has been since I've been over at the Homeland Security Office. We've got 66.37 pounds of the fake OxyContin blue pills that are fentanyl. 2.3 pounds of the new fentanyl called kryptonite. That's like a little green powdery. And then 20 pounds of methamphetamine. All those guys that were involved in that were illegally here and were running drugs. Fraudulent documents. I do a lot of this. The fraud docs, people that have tried to obtain work with fake social security numbers. They use fake permanent resident cards of the fake alien number. They're also using, they're not just using like U.S. citizens numbers, they're using other illegals numbers to gain work. So they're not just going after citizens too. So some of them even have fake driver's licenses and were able to obtain driver's licenses with their fake social security numbers. And they'll present that to the place of work. They'll fill out their I-9 forms at work. They'll give them that social, and they'll fill out the W-4, and they'll get tax returns and all that from using everybody's social security numbers. So we'll go and make contact with the places of work, and we'll gather all that information, and we go and make an arrest for the theft. If they have a victim or made over $10,000, it's usually just a felony 2 identity theft for most of them. And then some of them will have their forged documents that they bought. A lot of them buy them in Vegas. They'll get them between $150 to $500 a document. When they come over the border, they'll buy them from somebody and then go try to work somewhere. The violent crimes, recently in Washington City, we had a male that broke into a house and beat somebody with a hammer. He was an illegal, and he was taken into custody and also had ice hole put on him. Another male that we personally came in contact with, he called in on himself of a male brandishing a weapon. Later found out the Washington City police, they found out that he actually called in on himself. We did a little investigation, found out where he lived and who he was, and we went and made contact with him and arrested him. And then we had another male try to steal a gun from a local gun store here. He was apprehended. Sex offenders, we've had a male that's been living in here in the United States, I think since like the 90s, but he's a lifetime sex offender. He was deported in 2018. He came back and still didn't comply with any of the sex offender registry. So he was apprehended as well. A lot of them have sex offense histories, and we've had recent information of them talking about their histories to other people, and those people will come forward to us, and we'll go investigate or at least try to get them out of the community. As far as the gang cartel tattoos, one we're seeing a lot recently is the Latin King tattoos, which is going to have a cross, 5-point crown, and then the Tren de Agua. And then, so if you can see on the guy's body there, it will show you just a couple of the tattoos. A lot of common ones are the roses, the time clocks, and they like to use the Air Jordan too. So here's some recent ones we've had. So you can tell this guy is his arm right there. You can see he's got the cross, he's got the crown. That's to be a Latin King member. He's also a member that I arrested for some fraudulent documents and was working here. The male down lower, He has got some cartel ties. You can see he's got the Santa Marta tattoo there, the marijuana leaf, and he's a drug runner. And he was arrested for a large amount of fentanyl. Another male, this guy he just arrested on DUI, but when at the jail, we'll take pictures of tattoos and all that. And one of the jail deputies brought this to me. It's another Latin King tattoo. He's got it on his neck. He's got another one right there on his little forearm. This last guy we arrested, he's a rapper on TikTok, but also he's been carrying around a gun, cash, and we suspect that he's selling THC cards, but you can see the little gun right there at the table, his cash. We arrested him last week, and he's really good on it, so. Other than that, yeah, we said we go over we find the most violent ones, criminals, and we go after them, and we've been successful so far, so.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yep.
So as far as the fraud docs, I manage a local construction company here in town, and we are always trying to make sure that the people that we're hiring are here legally.
Yeah.
What are you looking for on a fraud doc? If they present documentation to you, a driver's license, social.
Yeah, we want the driver's license, not all of them are gonna have them. Most of them, permanent resident card, they'll have a social security card. They'll give you a copy of that. So we'll ask for the copies of that, and we'll investigate, find out that they were using a fake.
What can we look for on those documents to verify that they may be a fake? I know in the past we used E-Verify.
I know there's a social security verification website too. That'll just let you know if it's a legit. It won't let you know who it belongs to. So it might belong to somebody, and you'll never know. And then that's when we come in. We can further it for you guys.
I don't know if you want to stay up here, if you guys want to both answer this question. It says, in general, because not all instances are the same, but what is the length of time and what is the cost to taxpayers who hold, convict, and evict illegal aliens? And I don't know, do you know the answer?
Yeah, I can touch on that. This, again, so it depends on the crime. So if it's a felony level crime, whether they're in this country legally or illegally, they're going to face the local justice system up to prison sentences. We're not going to just let them go for horrific crimes in our county. But if it's something like a misdemeanor, I've seen maybe a misdemeanor domestic violence or a first offense DUI, where the courts and the prosecutors have worked out an agreement where we're going to hold this charge over your head. We're going to turn you over to ICE, knowing that you're going to be deported. If you ever come back, there's going to be a warrant for this original offense waiting for you. So that's happened. But if it's a sex offense or an aggravated assault or a homicide, they're going to stay in the state system like anybody else. They're going to go through the process. They're going to serve their sentence. And once they're done with their sentence, then they'll be turned over to ICE for deportation. So it's a balance depending on the severity of the crime that was committed.
Let's take this one.
Okay.
This question.
Okay, so when non-citizens in Utah receive a driver's license, are they automatically registered to vote? The answer is no, because a non-citizen cannot receive a driver's license in the state of Utah. They can receive, and this has been quite controversial, a driving privilege card. They hand it to us. It's red. It says driving privilege card right on the top. But ding, 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 the only reason you have a driver's privilege card in the state of Utah is because you can't prove that you're in the country legally. Right now, Trevor Lee is running a bill that came out of committee with a 7-3 vote in favor to get rid of that driving privilege card. That's going right now in this year's session. Another topic that's come up is the E-Verify. So in like 2024, it went from, if you're an employer and you had more than 15, you had to use E-Verify. They changed that by 100, well, over 100. So the current law is if you're an employee and you don't have over 150 employees, you don't even have to use E-Verify. So who are we talking about? Walmart, Costco. Most of your, if you think about some of the trades that illegals typically use, agricultural, construction, hospitality, right? How many restaurants do you know that have over 150 employees in Washington County? 0. So that's kind of ridiculous. Right now, there is a bill being ran, I saw the article this morning, to bring that from 150 down to 100. That's not going to change anything. We need to be in the 10 to 15 range, right? So that's happening. Neil Walter ran a bill. I talked about it when I was here back in March. He was trying to bring it back to 15, but that bill got shot down quicker than anybody's business. Go ahead, Gary.
Can I just add one thing to that? You mentioned about the 150. They don't have great stats on this, but it's estimated that 86% of the businesses in Utah are under 150.
Correct. I would agree with that. Most of them are small businesses.
Number of companies that illegals can work at in the state of Utah.
Correct. Any others, Jody?
I think, is it specifically about what they're talking about right now? Because, okay.
How do they get this red card? Who do they get it from?
The driver's license division. They can go and they're going to show like a.
Talk about insanity?
Yeah, but that's been in place for like 10, 12 years that originated. And there are some counter arguments to that and why we should keep it. So if they're driving, so it gives them the privilege to drive. It says shall not be used as legal identification on it. It's obviously says driving privilege card in bold red letters, so we know exactly what it is. But you can't get insurance unless you're a privileged or licensed driver in the state of Utah. So the counter argument is we want people, if they're driving, to have insurance, and they can't get insurance without a privilege or a driver's license to drive. But then there's also another little secret that those driving privilege cars are about the only way the state of Utah has an idea of how many illegals might be in the state. So there's counters to both sides. But Trevor Lee is running the bill again. It's going to go to the floor. It came out of committee with a pretty significant vote in favor of it. Pros and cons of both of that. But I can see the initial side of it. I can see concerns on both sides.
Okay, let's give some time to our K-9 officer and
Okay.
More questions at the end.
Do you have Scout, Minton? Okay. So this group is seen. So at the sheriff's office, we have 3 K-9s. 2 are what we call dual purpose. So there can, if you in a vehicle pursuit, you bell on foot and run after you, those dogs can track you and your scent, and they're also trained to detect narcotics. What, about a year and a half ago, Minton, for Scout? 2 years. So this K-9 Scout and his handler, Minton, they are specific to human traffic tracking and cadaver dog. So we use training aids. So toys that smell like drugs, they don't know what cocaine or meth or human scent smells like. They just know that if they find that scent, they're going to get their toy. So it's a big game to them. They just want to find the toy and get the reward. So after Scout finds his toy, he'll get his reward, and you'll see Deputy Minton getting his shoulders tugged on for about 3 minutes. That dog receiving his reward for finding the toy that he was looking for. So go ahead, Deputy Minton.
My name is Deputy Minton. I've had K-9 Scout who was talking about. I've had him for a little over 2 years.
Can you talk up a little bit louder? Sorry.
Yeah, I've had him for a little over 2 years. I've been a backcountry search and rescue deputy for 3 years. Our primary focus is backcountry, outlying areas, stuff like that, and search and rescue. So a little over 2 years ago, I heard that right when I came into the search and rescue backcountry spot, I always wanted a dog in law enforcement, and it was told to me that they did have a program before my time where they had some volunteers run search and rescue dogs and stuff like that. And I did a proposal to Nate to get us went through the statistics for the last few years of search and rescue calls, any kind of calls that we could have used him for, and did a proposal, brought it up to Brooksby, and Jeff thought it was a great idea, and I Scout since then. So super grateful for that opportunity. Scout is the only law enforcement cadaver dog in the state of Utah. So there's plenty of other certifications for cadaver dogs in the state, but through Utah Post, he is the only deputy officer, whatever you want to call it, canine in the state. So they let me go play all around the play.
Work.
Yeah, work, sorry. Yeah.
You're getting paid to play.
It's not playing, it's work. Let me go throughout the state and help out other agencies. It's about a 250-hour course for detection. So we do our detection class just with, the bomb dogs, the goat dogs at the same time. Ours is just a little different odor. So we'll use anything from, sections of little human remains to blood. We'll put that on gauze paper, clothing, stuff like that. It's kind of part of our certification process. So every year we have to recertify, and we have to have 4 hours in each discipline each week to keep them certified. So we train every Tuesday for 12 hours a day. All the canines in Washington together. We go to different canine training locations. Somebody's in charge 1 week, they go to different locations, and then we just kind of rotate through and do different kind of scenarios and stuff that we can come across. He's also tracking certified, and with that is also article detection. So if you had a knife, you threw it out of the car, we were on a foot pursuit on somebody, you threw out, a murder weapon, this or that, his wallet, dropped his wallet, my dog would be able to locate that. So he's got a wide range of stuff he can use for the lost child that took off from the campground or was out hiking with the family to the felon suspect that took off from the traffic accident or pursuit, whatever, and be able to track the bad guy, and then we can bring in our other canine that are trained in apprehension, so they're fresh, ready to go. Scout work, get his part, locating the suspect, so then we can bring in a fresh dog that's not tired from tracking, and be brought in with a 5-foot another Airbnb. Any questions? I think I did some stuff, probably something.
They just want to see Scout.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, exactly. So Scout's a little different than most of these dogs. The fact that you can touch him, pet him, like I say, and that's kind of what we want to go with, since it was being able to certain rescue that the 8-year-old autistic kid that was missing lost wasn't going to be afraid of the man either dog, and when accidentally with it. So he thinks he's 40 pounds, but he's a 90-pound grizzly bear. My own kids have gotten that a couple times. He thinks he's 40 pounds, not too over tail and face, whatever. But he's just a big dude. So I'll bring him in one of these stones here. I put some dry blood on, some cotton paper. So when you see him, he'll come in, and you should be able to tell when he is behavior changes. When he comes in, he'll be happy, so that there's no food, want to go for the food, go some pets, on that. But for the most part, you should be able to tell when he is in odor recall. So when he gets there, you'll be able to tell. He indicates all the dogs here in the county are what we call passive indicating dogs. So they sit, they stare, they bark, something like that. And then there's the opposite where they scratch, chew, bite, whatever. They kind of let you know it's there, but it's a lot easier to have a passive dog. A lot less stuff to stare with the dog in that way. So yeah, I'll bring you in. Give you a second.
We're neighbors. She lives down the street from us.
So as you can see, he get that going. I was like, nothing good there. Get this one. I was like, yep, I think so. Come back, get confirmation, and then sits. Definitely can change that. That is what he's looking for, right? And now I'm going to pass him off to somebody else before my arm gets tired. Yeah, so this is the 40-pound poodle. My kids want to ride him, but you know, he is like a horse. He thinks they're the same size, but obviously they're a little different. Yeah, so dogs' canine noses are anywhere from 10,000 to 100,000 times stronger than ours. So that's why they're able to smell things that we can't, and a lot more quickly. So the bigger snout, like a pug comparative to a lab, they have a lot more receptors to be able to find things. So typically dogs in detection, the longer snout is, they've got better sense of smell. Yeah, so it's, I don't know if you guys heard this analogy before, but in the detection world, we give it's a pizza method, right? When we go into a house and we smell pizza being cooked in the oven, right? The dog walks into the house and it can smell the yeast, the cheese, that everything very specific, separated. It's not all jumbled into one. It can be able to tell that this is this smell, this is this one, and this is that one. In cadaver, there's 2,000 different volatile organic compounds that are off-gassing when a human dies. And some of those are related to wildlife animals. So we have to make sure that in that Venn diagram, we're looking just strictly for the human odor that is off-gassing and not animals. So when we train, we'll find dead birds, deer, whatever, and we'll put training aid out past it. Dog will check it out. Dogs want to check out anything stinky, smelly, but it will bypass that and not indicate on that. You will see a different change of behavior once it gets to the human remains of it. So
I can see why your kids got beat up by that tail.
yeah, it's like a 2x4. Yeah. Any questions on him? Yes.
Are those dogs all male or are there female?
There is also female dogs. When we go and test dogs, there's male and female dogs. A lot of it just depends on what kind of dog you're looking for. You know, for an apprehension dog, we pick Scout. You know, we pick Man-Eater, Malinois. We do have, I believe, three female dogs out of the well in the county that are female.
And are they able to hone in on different things than a male dog? Are there like similar?
Not that I know of that's anything different. They can detect things just as good as male dogs, and if not better, in my opinion. But all dogs have their own different quirks and personality, and you know, so Scout was good for me for what we're doing. I could go do a demo in Enterprise, have 100 kids out there, and I let every single one of them come play tug with them, see if they can get the tugs from them. As you can see, he's not going to let go. So it's kind of fun. We'll get 5-6 kids on one end, and before they go back class. Yeah, so it just kind of depends on what you want that dog for. Yeah. Anything else? Okay, go.
Okay, bye, buddy.
Okay. Okay, I've got a couple more questions. Okay, here's one. In Washington State, the legislator is trying to take power away from the elected sheriffs. Is there any sign of that in Utah? There was about 4 years ago. If we look at the government structure of Salt Lake County and Utah County, there was a guy running for to be the county attorney up in Utah County, and he was basically saying, "Oh, county commissioners can just dissolve every elected position under the county government except the prosecutor's office and the county commissioners." So when I was running for sheriff in 2021, this came up quite a bit. So people obviously asked me, "Are you a constitutional sheriff?" Yes. Jody named off kind of the rights that we deal with commonly in law enforcement, with freedom of speech and Second Amendment and due process and the right not to incriminate, things like that. So I said, yes, I am. But did you know that the Constitution of the state of Utah does not include the office of the sheriff in it? And like 42 other states do. So I started talking to the Sheriff's Association and the Sheriff's Association and some of our state legislators, and the legislators were shocked. They said, "I just assumed it was in our state constitution." I said, "It's not." And one of them said, "Well, if the state auditor's in there, the sheriff darn well should be." So Brad Wilson at the time was the Speaker of the House. He ran a bill. It was passed unanimously in the House. Both sides voted for it. Then it was ran in the Senate, passed. But because it's a constitutional change, it had to go on the ballot. So the law was in place. So in 2024, in December, that was a question on the ballot. It received 84.6% approval rate. And I think probably the other percentage that didn't vote for it probably didn't understand it, because we had some questions like, well, we already elect our sheriffs. What's this about? That, being suspicious of what the legislator is trying to do. But it was, in fact, it wasn't anything like the sheriff shall be king of all law enforcement. It was simply each county shall have an elected sheriff, period. So that's enshrined in our state constitution now. And so none of that nonsense about legislators trying to take our elected sheriffs away. So, I wanted to show real quick, and thanks for bearing with me. This is some really new technology. I'm proud to say that we are the first agency in the state of Utah to have this. So when we have vehicle pursuits and the suspect's doing 80 or 100 or 120, I liken that to waving a loaded gun in a shopping mall. It's a bullet traveling at 100 miles an hour on I-15 with citizens driving in cars. Quite often they end up in crashes. But the default to stop a vehicle pursuit is we have spikes that we set up, deflates the tires, but I've literally chased a car for 35 miles until the car physically could not move anymore because it had gone clear down to the hub, right? It burned the whole wheel off, the brake calipers. So that's still a danger. Another thing we have is a pit maneuver. Those are about 85% effective, but we're limited to only doing a pit maneuver at speeds under 40 miles an hour. So that's a limited tool. So this is, I had my chief deputy come up to me about 8 months ago and say, "Hey, they have this new thing. I'd like to get some for our patrol vehicles." And I'm thinking like maybe 4 or 6. He said, "No, all of them." I'm like, that's a lot of money. But then I think about the liability, and the commissioners giving me a hard time when we do crash vehicles in a pit maneuver. You're always going to get some kind of damage when you do a pit maneuver, and it might not even be successful. So this is a pretty cool new tool that law enforcement's using. Sorry, so now we have these. Hang on. on all 25 of our marked patrol trucks. If I can get the
Tonight we're
volume.
learning about the new tool that's stopping these drivers and keeping the public safe. Tonight, Team 12's William Pitts explains how it works.
The Valley is no stranger to dangerous drivers and police chases that can end very badly. This device turns a cop car into a cowboy, able to bully any car they're chasing. It's Leonard Stock's invention. He came up with the grappler right here in the Valley.
It's certainly gratifying to watch our product that we work so hard to produce being used out in the field.
So far, we've seen grappler captures from Phoenix Police and Arizona DPS. Phoenix Police catching 2 suspected kidnappers. DPS on the 202 in October, stopping a woman who was allegedly driving drunk. Sure, they could have used the pit maneuver, spinning the car out, but on a freeway at high speeds, no one knows what can happen.
Having another way to get that vehicle
So that's
stopped
just brief. I don't want to show the whole thing, but that's, you know, throughout my career, technology and techniques have changed in the last 30 years. You know, the old timers used to have the billy club and the 6-shooter, right? Now we have, you know, all of our guns, most of our guns have like laser sights on them, and we have all kinds of new tools to help prevent crime and then stop public safety threats like a vehicle pursuit. So that's brand new technology. That's just, I mean, it's probably been, the guy had like 10 versions to build it, to perfect it, but now it's to the point where agencies are buying it. I know Las Vegas Metro's run them, Arizona DPS. I'm sure eventually everybody will have that, but I'm proud that we were supported by the commissioners to get that tool in Washington County, and I'm glad that we're the first agency in the entire state to put it out there. First, and then
Can you fold that rope back up and reuse it, or do you have to?
no, so we basically it's a net system. The net system, it's almost like a bungee without being a bungee. So you'll see, so you saw how it's tethered, right? So the net comes out, it locks up that tire. So we were doing practical training a couple weeks ago, and literally within 50 to 100 yards, that it stopped. And that's amazing compared to a pit maneuver or a spike deployment. So we're stopping that threat immediately. It's tethered to the patrol truck, but as that tether line comes out, it's folded on top of each other with like, almost like zip ties. So it's not just letting the whole thing go and then all of a sudden all that force hits all at once. It's like a bungee without actually being a bungee. The guy that designed it was great. Because sometimes depending on the speed, it wouldn't even release that whole tether cord. It would still be bundled up. So it depending on the speed is, you know, at some point it's going to go full length, but it's designed to not have all that force hit both vehicles at once. It's going to be a slow progression. And in some circumstances, the deputies might not want it tethered. So the console actually looks like a cool NASCAR. It would be something that would be in a NASCAR. So you got like a switch you have to flip up, and then you got the toggle. But then if you don't want to be tethered, you can do a quick release, and it'll release that tether line in some circumstances. Like there might be some where you don't want to be tethered to the vehicle, but that's the initial design, is it being tethered. So do you have a question there?
Same question. It's not reasonable. You have to get it.
It's not reasonable. It's about $400. So I've been, I don't know, bragging to the chiefs a little bit. Hey, we're going to have this available. But if you, St. George Police Department or Highway Patrol, ask the Washington County Sheriff's Office to use this new tool on one of your chases, I'm going to send you an invoice for $400 to replace the net. And they're like, yep, no problem. So add one other quick. So this is another new piece of equipment. So the one on your right is a military MRAP. So I procured that in like 2018. It was assigned to the Air Force, but the military has a program called the 1033 program, where local law enforcement can purchase military equipment that's not being utilized anymore. They valued that at $1 million, and I was able to buy that for $14,000 through that program. So it's been good. It will stop bullets. We know that for sure. But it's military proprietary. So if something breaks on the interior, it's hard to find parts. So the new vehicle on the left, that's a civilian model made by Lenco. That's called the Bearcat model. St. George City received one about the same time we did. And within 2 weeks of us receiving our brand new shiny armored vehicles, they were in full action at an active shooter in Little Valley about 4 months ago. Do you guys remember that? So that was, so we actually have four armored vehicles in the county. Hurricane City has one of the big MRAPs. So we had MRAPs, we had 2 Bearcats. St. George City's Bearcat, their brand new shiny $350,000 vehicle, took 15 rounds to the windshield from a .308 rifle. It stopped every one of them. But now they have to replace their windshields, and that's about 20 grand. But it did its job, right? It saved lives. So we use that to extract neighbors in close proximity to the shooter. So at the end of the day, the individual shot 150 rounds at houses, at police cars. We had one St. George City officer who had taken a prone position behind a 3-foot diameter steel power pole, and he was pinned down. So we used one of these to get him out of there. When the investigation was done, that power pole took 15 .308 rounds to that power pole. Imagine being that officer in a prone position with 3 feet of coverage, and those .308 rounds hitting that hollow steel tube over and over again. It shook them up. So people ask, why do we need an armored vehicle? And I can get, another cool part of this. So we had a drunk barricade guy had got really drunk 3-4 weeks ago, had guns in the house, knew the cops were coming. So this, we have basically a battering ram that comes out about 12 feet. But at the end of that battering ram, there's a box, and we call it CS gas. You guys would call it tear gas. It hurts and burns and makes you cry. So without exposing any law enforcement or having even an opportunity for a gunfight, we pull that Bearcat up with the ram on it, with a box loaded with 10 canisters of tear gas. We poke a hole through his front door. We push a button from inside the truck, get the poison gas inside the house, and he comes out with his hands in the air. So it takes a very volatile, dynamic situation, and using a right tool and technology, we dissolved and de-escalated that situation very rapidly. No chance for a gunfight, no chance for anyone getting shot. So that's just some of the cool newer stuff we have at our sheriff's office to keep the community safe. So that was about it. So I will stick around as long as you want me to, but since we're kind of running a little bit behind, right, Alexis?
Let's give them a big
Trust me, my longest speaking engagement went 3 hours. I have a lot of information in my head, a lot of experience, a lot of history, bomb squad stuff, SWAT stuff, things like that. So why we have everyone else here, again, I'll stick around if you have individual questions for me, but why we still have the majority of the body here, is there any other questions for now? Bueller? Somebody get that right? Okay, thank you.
Okay, so our next meeting is going to be March 19th. We are doing a patriotic, maybe Jody will tell you about it real fast.
Jeff McKenna will be coming, and he's a historian about our country's history, how the wars got started, everything that was going on, and he'll do this amazing Miss America patriotism speech. He'll go right around with our Americanism. It will make you proud of your country and amazed at how our forefathers did what they did to establish this country that we are now blessed with. And it will make you feel like, I want to be those people so that I can keep our freedoms the way they were intended to be.
Yes. I think he was at the Santa Clara 150 celebration, and we heard really good things about it, and he agreed to come, which we're really excited about. So something to look forward to next month. I think I just need a motion to adjourn. And do I have a second? Okay, all right. We'll see you in March. Thank you.
It's so